Steven said, you guys should be very discriminating about what we say, because we might be biased. But today we wanted to talk about the state of the state. I know you guys have been sort of studying government function as well as sort of like tracking the news on what's going on in government. So we wanted to share with you our perspective on what's going on here in New York State, like state and local politics, and see what you guys can do about it to make it better and work better for everybody in New York. So, let's see if this works here. So, just a quick slide about us. We're the local chapter of the Young Democrats of America. If you think about the two big political parties in America, you've got the Democrats on the one side, the blue guys, and the Republicans, the red guys.
Blue team.
Blue team, yes. And we're the young part of the Democratic Party, so we're ages 18 to 35. We try to be the voice of the youth in the Democratic Party. We have about 200 members here in Manhattan, and our mission is to welcome, inspire, educate, and activate the youth of New York City into the political scene. Why don't I pause there and see if there are any questions? No, exciting, all right. So before we get started, we wanted to just sort of get a little bit brain juices flowing. It's a little bit early in the morning. Start off with a couple questions. So first of all, let's ask, when is the next election? 2012. Okay. So what election would that be? For what offices? Presidential elections. Okay. Are there other elections not at the federal level that might be happening at other times?
Yeah.
Yeah? Do you know when those are?
Yeah, they're Congressmen elected every 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. What about at the state level? Are there any elections happening more locally?
Governor Patterson's team is going to be a new governor soon.
Sure. When is that election happening?
Not really now.
Right now? Yeah.
Didn't you say you know this?
It's actually happening.
Right
so
now.
the primaries are happening sort of in September of this year,
Yeah.
and the general election will be happening in November. So.
Next school year.
Yeah, next school year. No, that totally makes sense. So there's a lot of elections going on. Obviously, the presidential election is the sexy one that everybody pays attention to. That happens every 4 years. But there's a lot of other stuff that we should be paying attention to. So that's question number one. Next question, how many people will represent you guys when you turn 18 and you can start voting?
One. Just kidding.
Any guesses on the number?
It's like 35.
People that you get to elect. 35, that's a great guess. It's actually a huge number. Other guesses?
1,000.
1,000. Not that many. Well, so you elect the president, right? You also elect the vice president, you elect congressmen. You also, once you get to vote, you get to elect your state and local officials. So there's like a lot of people. So I'll actually go through that now. I'm just curious on what you guys think the number is. Do you know who the elected officials who represent your local districts are? So who represents you in the city?
Just the left.
Great. This guy's got it on. Anybody else? Back there.
I don't know what he does, but I know Dan Garodnick is something.
Dan Garodnick, yep, he's a councilman, right? So he represents maybe your family in the city council, which is just for New York City.
Was that like the state senators?
Mhm. Yep, state senator, yep, we'll be talking a lot about the state senate today. So they go up to Albany, and they sort of write laws for the state of New York. Anybody else? Cyrus Vance is
District attorney.
district attorney. Got it. Great, you guys are on the ball, this is exciting. Okay, so we actually wanted to talk a lot today about corruption in government, and sort of how we can make government work better for all of the city, or all the people in New York. So what's the last elected official you heard about getting in trouble for corruption? Bill Clinton. Elliot Spitzer, okay. Patterson, yep, recent scandal.
Black, I can't think names.
Blagojevich, yep, in Illinois.
That guy who had the prostitute on my face.
That was Elliot.
That was Elliot Spitzer, right? Prostitute. Well,
Yeah. One of them.
Anybody else sort of hearing stuff in the news lately? Government prostitutes definitely been there. That's great. So obviously there's always news going on about politicians, but there are a couple of reasons why corruption is a big problem in New York relative to the other places. Finally, who's heard about the June 8th coup that happened last summer in the New York State Senate? Anybody? Out there?
When they walked out.
What's that?
When they walked out.
Yeah, well, there was a lot of walking in and out of the state senate chamber, but we'll go through the story of the state senate. It was actually a period during the summer of last year where the legislature stopped working for the New Yorkers for an entire 6 weeks. It's like a huge scandal, and we absolutely don't want that to happen again, and that's part of the reason why we're here. So, great questions and answers, guys. Thank you. So the big picture, as a New Yorker, your civic duty will be to cast your vote for actually no less than 15 elected officials. And we're just going to go through the most important ones here, just to give you guys a quick overview. So who represents me? Because I'm over 18, I get to vote. At the federal level, we've got like the big guys, right? So president, U.S. senators, and U.S. congresspeople. At the state level, you've got the governor, state senators, and assembly people who, write the laws up in Albany. You also have a state comptroller who makes sure that the money in the government is actually going where it's supposed to and people aren't stealing things. And then the attorney general who sort of manages, what's the easy way to describe what the attorney general does? He makes sure that the laws are upheld, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And at the city level, we actually have a whole bunch of people as well. So you've got the mayor, Mayor Bloomberg, right? Big profile guy. The city council people who we mentioned, Jessica Lappin is a member of the city council as well as Garodnick. City comptroller, the public advocate, which is an office that supposed to represent the voices of New Yorkers here in the city. District attorney and borough president. So there's like a whole bunch of people that you're supposed to be voting for and paying attention to sort of basically every day as part of our civic duty. What's interesting is that if you were in Canada, you'd cast your vote only 3 times. Federal level, parliament member. In the provincial level, because they don't have states, they have provinces in Canada, you'd vote for a parliament member in the province. And then at the city level, you'd vote for a city council member.
Excuse me, Chelsea, stop talking.
So there are only 3 people that you'd vote for. So like 15 versus 3, it's actually a lot easier to keep track of 3 people. And our hypothesis actually is that in New York, there are too many elected officials and everybody's too busy to really keep track of what they're doing. So what happens is, we don't have 5 times as much, sort of time and energy to track what every person is doing. And what that means is that there's a lot more room for elected officials to do bad things, steal money, sort of be corrupt, and not sort of uphold their public duty. So today there's a lot of corruption that we could talk about, but today we wanted to specifically focus on the state legislature. So when you look at this, 3 levels, federal, state, and city, we're going to be focusing on these 2 people. In particular, the state senate, because they're really dysfunctional, but this body here is the legislature in Albany that writes the laws for all of the state of New York. Okay, so let me just pause here about why should New Yorkers care? Particularly young New Yorkers, we've got a lot going on, we've got our jobs, we've got school, so many other things to pay attention to. Why should we care about what goes on in Albany? Any thoughts?
So that you're not ignorant.
So that you're not ignorant, that's a great reason, yep. Anybody else?
So they don't steal the money.
So they don't steal the money, yep. So they're not doing corrupt things.
It's moral. It's our moral obligation.
Moral obligation, strong words, definitely. Great. Well, so we think there are 3 reasons why you should be paying attention to what happens in Albany. The first reason is that a lot of the issues that young people in the city care about actually are influenced by the laws that are written way further upstate in Albany. So first, we're actually Democrats, so we support marriage equality. That issue is really important to us. At the state level, that's where the laws are written for marriage licenses. The MTA, if you guys ride the subway, you get super frustrated about how slow the subway is, or how the ceiling is crumbling, or the people who control the train aren't very nice. The MTA is also partially funded by state tax money, and part of the reason why they can't do their job very well is because Albany isn't giving them the resources they need to do it. Taxes. So you probably hear your parents talk about how taxes are really high in New York State. Albany is a big reason why we should care about that. Public schools, the education that a lot of New Yorkers are receiving. A lot of that funding also comes from the state level. And finally, healthcare. There's a lot of regulation that comes out of the state level that everybody should really care about because all of us, have the chance of getting sick. So lots of issues that really matter. I know that Albany's not that sexy, but still, we should be paying attention to what they're doing.